We blasted off.
Okay.
Just like either the Shepherd or the Dragon.
Either the Shepherd or the Dragon.
Space Dragon. Shepherd X.
Space Shepherd.
You know, we have Elon Musk in our list here today. Twice. I have him here twice.
Wow.
As if he doesn't get enough
so
coverage.
Every time the man sneezes, every time that he burps, there seems to be a news conference.
Well,
and
sometimes that is the whole conversation.
Yeah, pretty much.
One of these is about a news conference, and so the other one's about a lawsuit. So any average,
I can understand that.
Any average week, if you get
he has certainly perked off a few people.
I didn't even play along with the theme. I got all ready to
man,
go.
You got so tied up in what we might be getting into. Alrighty.
Am I late?
No, you are never late.
All right. Well, I had the mandolin of science ready to go, and then
and then just got carried away.
I drifted off as the Lost Planet airmen would say, lost in the ozone again. That's what they say.
Hey, if anyone out there knows a simple conversion between human years and possum years, please send that to me. I was just before the program started, we were talking about the age of a possum, and I went on to ageconverter.com and ageconverter.com. I mean, they had like
snakes, all kinds of things. No possums,
spiders, everything else. No possums. So
that's like no respect.
I know. No.
Well, listen, I do have a solution.
Or the opossums.
I think this is mathematics, and so
it's obviously
or
mathematics.
as we say in the hills, ciphering.
Ciphering.
So I was going to call. I know Professor Jethro Bodine, who was good at ciphering, could figure this out.
I don't know where he is now, but I bet that he would know the conversion rate between human years and possum years. So we might need to find old Jethro.
Well, Granny would have all the recipes too. So hey, listen,
the possum
Robert,
recipes.
we got to get rolling. I have too many topics again.
All right,
Radio Science News is packed full.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. To get our listeners to raise. Oh, by the way, I'm so busy talking about possum years. This is episode number 801 in a series for Radio Science News. Today's date is August the 28th, 2021. If you're into prime numbers, this is not a prime number. The factors are 3 and 3 and 89.
Whoa, that's
so
cool.
I know, very cool.
I would have, if I had to just like toss. I would have said looks like a prime.
Yes, it almost has the taste of a prime, but not quite. So I'm going to go to Radio Science News here through smartcenter.org. So if you're driving a Tesla, please pull over because I don't think they're to be trusted quite yet autonomously, especially during Radio Science News. If you pull over and go to www.smartcenter.org, you'll see Radio Science News, the little trifecta rainbows.
Triple X T-shirt right there.
Triplicate rainbow T-shirts. And just above that is the link to the Launchpad of Science for Radio Science News. And let's see what we got here this morning. My computer's running a little slow, but that's probably just because the NSA is checking on everybody as we speak. So we've got Hurricane Ida.
Which is going to be big news.
Time gap. Blue H2.
Blue hydrogen.
Oh, okay. Blue hydrogen and then Magna H2.
Well,
we haven't talked about them lately.
I found some interesting things that when we get to. Well, first of all, I kept hearing the blue H2, and then that's something that's kind of pertinent to a lot of what's going on with the aficionados of hydrogen as a hydrogen economy.
Yes,
a lot of cool stuff going on there. But yeah, you're right. The Magna hydrogen is actually more interesting.
Still fascinated with that. I'd love to really get a room full of chemists and physicists sitting down and talking to me about that. If it really is what they say it is. Because if that's true, that is just so hyper cool.
And if it's not true, we'd like to know that. But
I would very much like to know that.
I think the part that worries me the most is that some things that I see that I go, I think there's some real reasonableness to it, and there seems to be some scientific evidence and even some stuff done by military laboratory, and then yet. Well, let me take it one step further, because
Yes,
I mean,
please.
You could start a whole company to do this, and then have the whole company sort of be absorbed by another company and
by
disappear.
somebody else and just sort of go off the radar.
They have sort of disappeared.
I guess if you have a large enough funding stream, you can make just about anything sort of vanish.
It seems that way. Anyway, we'll talk about the Magna.
Right.
Then there's a cool thing about
Something about whales?
A new fossil whale that they've discovered in China.
Awesome. I just
Very cool.
just finished watching, I think it was a Nova special on when whales walked.
That relates to this.
Great. I love that one. I've seen it a couple times.
This is one of the new pieces of evidence. In fact, they pointed out that the wolf and the whale were closely
are very, very closely related.
relative, and then this adds more to that. Except this one is really exciting. And then there's something, Robert. We talk about
Is
math
this
all the time.
Egg math?
The mathematics for the shape of an egg.
Okay,
is
very cool.
so complex
Okay.
that they've just now come up with some new information about the complex interaction of the different shapes within an egg, and you'll like that.
It would not surprise me if the phrase catenary does not come in there somewhere. I would be very intrigued with that.
And of course,
Okay.
big coral.
Coral.
First, I thought it was like a big corral. It was like going to be a cowboy western, but this is about a giant, a form of coral that I believe this is out off of Australia. That the part of the story is how this thing has endured so many struggles.
So is this a brain coral, or are we talking even bigger?
Well, it's bigger.
that? Okay.
It's very bigger. Then something, Robert. I have to
Pluto
warn you. I don't want you to get all riled up.
Is
about
a planet.
Well, there's some discussion about that.
Well, no. There is no discussion.
Oh yeah,
Pluto is a planet. Now you can have your opinion, but unless you're saying it's a planet, then you're wrong.
Well,
there's simply wrong.
Well, this could either be on your side or not. I'm not sure. I have to
Who
look at it.
knows? We will see.
of course,
actually, for the listeners out there, I just want to let you know. No, real science, which is not what the International Astronomical Union does, but real science is we always have a conversation.
Yes,
we
that's right.
always have a conversation, and we are not going to vote on it. That is not the way science is done. What we do is that we see what works best, what makes the most sense. We try it, we test it, and after trying and testing, whatever comes out best is what we use until something better comes along.
So that's your theory,
Yes.
right? I like that theory.
And using all of that, I have determined that Pluto is a planet.
Fair enough. I'm with you.
Sue Ann at Green Bank just shared about the Pluto thing. You guys talking about the
Yes.
Science News
Yes.
article?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. in
Wow,
just a
so
minute.
some of our friends are on track
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
She's on top of it.
She is something else too. I really like her. And then Tesla.
Teslabot.
Teslabot. Oh, okay. So this is not the inventor.
This is, well, some people like him may think this has to do with the fact that as Tesla,
Don't even get me started.
as Elon
Okay.
Muskrat often says,
I
Musk,
like
excuse me.
that. Elon Muskrat. I will have to write
Put that
down
next
and
to your
use
possum
it and
ears and
say,
see what-
I wish I had come up with that, but no, I didn't get to.
It'll probably be
Richard
a plush.
got it first.
I think it'll be a plush toy that'll be available before Christmas, or not. This has to do with an announcement from the Tesla people about getting into robotics in their AI conference.
That's perfectly fine. I don't mind that.
Or as I see one, the first time I thought it was an AI I thought it was A1 steak sauce, and so I was right in there.
So you're like, win.
I asked my parents for some of the AI steak sauce. and they
AI
went-
steak sauce,
I said,
yeah.
What? All right, Starlink. Since we're talking about Elon Musk and his projects, this is
Bad
another
idea.
Well, and
Superbly bad idea.
well, and we're going to touch bases just a little bit. And if the possibilities of this are not good, but we could be talking about the Denisovans, the Etzanoa that we didn't get to these well, and the photonic, which I knew would take a long time, and then the graphene one. Oh my gosh, Robert! When I read through the story on graphene, I thought it was almost like lyrical poetry because it had so many complex nerd words in it.
Oh, awesome.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
I'm going to take only because we probably should start every show and end every
probably
show
should.
with telling people to please get their vaccines. And
Please
then
get your vaccine.
And then not saying too much more. But I do have a link
Well,
to the COVID chart.
well,
Just quickly.
let me just say, you have your rights and freedoms to do just about anything that you want to do.
You mean like whine and complain and all kinds
Sure,
of stuff?
you can whine and complain all that you want, but that is limited to
Yeah.
putting me at risk or putting someone else at risk.
Oh.
You do not have the right to put someone else at risk. That's just mean.
Seems kind of wrong.
Yeah, that seems kind of wrong. I
Well,
kind of like that.
I heard
yes.
somebody put it, your ability to swing your arm stops at the point where it hits my nose.
Exactly. And your ability to spread diseases
Well, that one, that's...
ends before it gets to me.
Well, you hope.
So if you want to get sick, if you want all this stuff, fine. Find someplace away from everyone else and just do it. But you can't sit and cough on me and go, it's my right.
You mean like the maybe planet Pluto?
Maybe planet Pluto, yes.
All right, let's take a quick look at the COVID chart.
Let's do it.
Because this is well done, because this is what they call the COVID review. And I have to say, this is, so it's talking about August 23rd, 2021. Basically, the folks at the CDC have done something that I think is really good. They have a review of all the stuff that kind of ran by this in the previous week. The big news being that when they say easy is 1, 2, 3, they say 1, 2, 3 because, they're saying that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration granted full approval to the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. So now it's got all its. So this page has a lot of stuff. And I applaud they put it in a kind of a fairly easy linked form. Here's the thing about full approval. Here's the thing about administration of a third dose for immunocompromised people.
Well, that's a nice thing.
And then not such a great news that 52% only of the
know.
population are fully vaccinated.
I was watching the news last week, and because the COVID-19 Delta variant is so contagious, they're saying that for us to get to herd immunity, we need to be over 90%.
Wow.
And that's just not going to happen, folks, if we're at 52. That's not going to happen.
Well, the only sad thing I would tell you is that mathematically, Robert, it very well could happen, but it'll be because the remaining population that does not succumb to it will finally all get it, and then people will go, see, we told you it would work. Here's reported cases, and you know, when you were talking about, we were talking about the waves, especially when I saw this morning how rough things are in Florida, but you're right. First wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave,
and we're at a fifth wave. Our fifth wave is the second highest wave, folks.
Well, and that's if you go across the entire country. But if you look at specifically the state of Florida, I think its fifth wave is higher than. Yeah. And that's
just ridiculous. There is no reason that we should have more than one wave, and we as a species must just be stupid.
Well, I'm not sure I don't know what to attribute it to. We'll just have to say
it's not just the people around here. The same thing is happening in Japan. The same thing is happening in Europe. The same thing is happening in South America. It's not just us, meaning U.S.
So if you were going to say there was one good thing about our planet, is that we're consistent. Is that
we
what
are
you're going to
definitely
say?
consistently stupid? Yes.
Well, okay. So listen, this has a lot of great information, but I don't want to. I mean, I look at the very top. You can see last 30 days, the trend line. You know, it almost looks like a logo for a delivery service or something.
Yeah, it does.
But here's the other thing I'm going to tell you. If you take a look, just because there's so much to look at the top. In fact, you can glance over mine.
Sure.
If I were just looking at the last 30 days total cases, it's like it's rising.
It sure is.
But then take a look at this one. You notice the difference in the curve?
Oh yeah.
The angle of the curve on deaths is worse.
So the angle for the curve on the deaths is an upward slope.
Slightly more upward. So
yeah.
Anyway, this is all really good information. Please read it, read and heed, as they say.
Please read and heed. There we go.
And I think, as I said, maybe at the beginning, please get your vaccine.
Yes. If you don't want to get your vaccine for you, think
Get it
about the
for
people
everybody
that
else,
you
yeah.
love, and if you're one of these flag waving people, then do it for America.
There you go.
Just there you go.
I salute your comments.
I salute the flag.
All right.
There we go.
I'm trying to get back I've decided I'm not using. Notice I'm not using Google today. I'm using.
I noticed that.
DuckDuckGo.
You're using DuckDuckGo.
I like cute little ducks on there. But
That
then
is
what did
cute.
he do? He stopped right in the middle of everything and asked me if I wanted to. No, I don't want to.
Would you like to quack now? What?
All right, let's take a quick look at one of the big things that we did mention the problems that they're having in Florida with COVID, but one of the real things that's going to be scary.
Hurricane Ida.
And when I put this up, this is from NOAA, National Hurricane Center, the Central Pacific Hurricane Center. They were together all this information. This is really a great little place to start. And when I started clicking around on here, there were so many neat things. In fact, even though we see, let's look at Ida. Let's click on, when you click on Ida, you get all this kind of really cool stuff. Now, one of the things that did change, if you go ahead to Ida there in the Gulf and click right on it, which
Just
is
click
kind of
right
cool.
on there.
All this stuff comes up.
Oh, look at there.
Well, and the thing that I was
So
going to say,
we've got arrival time of winds, wind history.
this is
warning
really
cone, interactive map. Wow, this is awesome.
well. It
Peak
is
surges, storm surge.
the amount of data that's here is really fun. Now, the one thing that I did look at that just changed a little bit. You see the storm track down there on that big map.
Yeah.
Before it was going, they showed the center as tracking south of West Virginia, but now
It looks like. Well,
Wow, is that your? Which
I
one
just clicked on U.S. rainfall potential,
Yeah, that's a good one.
and it's
This is scary
looking
stuff.
as though that folks in our neck of the woods are going to get between 2 and 4 inches of
Yeah.
rain from this.
As it travels, now
Wow.
the part that's a
Well,
little
hey, at least we're
scary,
not going to get 15 to 20 inches of rain.
that's what's really
Yeah.
for folks who have enjoyed, as Robert, Libby, and I have enjoyed going to. We went to a science conference in New Orleans, National.
Yes, we did. Beautiful
teachers,
place.
Science
Really
teachers,
liked it.
and one of the wonderful things you like is just right there on the water. And in fact, Robert, I might say it's not only right there on
It's
the water.
underwater.
The land mass around New Orleans is actually lower than sea level,
Yes.
and they have all
It's
kinds
really
of there are all
scary.
kinds of issues with the fact that the land mass is actually sinking
Yep.
while the water is rising. And the scary thing about this is, I think they said they were talking about Lake Pontchartrain. Well, we're looking at the real bright magenta into purple.
Yeah, at Lake Charles.
We're looking at the possibility of they said that some people said they would not be surprised if there were areas that had 24 inches of rain surpassing. These
That's
may
pretty
be
astounding.
well. And if I click back to the thing with all the different ones, they have the storm surge. Let's take a quick look at storm surge because.
Storm surge watch and warning, or storm surge
I don't know.
inundation.
It's got a, I don't know, I've got a, oh, this one, that's, for some reason, it's not continue, return to home page. Anyway, the big thing I was going to say is that they now feel that the landfall will be west of New Orleans, which means that you're going to have onshore, they talk about being on the dirty side of the hurricane, the side where where it's being onshore winds, and here's the tropical storm force. That's the one I'm looking. Tropical, most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds, and so that whole area is going to be in big trouble. And right in the middle of the other things that are going on in that area, to have this is going to be daunting. The other thing I was going to say is when you look at the initial map, like you click on the things out here. Here's Tropical Depression 10.
Yeah, I was
So you click
looking
for
at
that, and this looks like it's
This
not going
is
to be
an
a problem.
amazing web page.
Goes right up. The other one is a little scary. There's a little X, and this says it's as of 8 o'clock Saturday, 60% chance of cyclone formation in 48 hours. So right now this is just a tropical
just
depression.
out in the middle of the Atlantic.
But based on this, they formation chance through 5 days, 60% medium. So, and then they'll watch all this. This is really important stuff. It's wonderful that we have all this great information.
I just on that image,
Yeah.
I just clicked, and
There's the satellite imagery of
satellite
everything.
image comes up.
And also the thing that when we're looking at that,
Wow.
you see that they talk about it being in the Gulf, and they show, oh, it's a little thing in the Gulf. Well, no, the outer bands of this system
Go
are hitting.
from Cuba to Louisiana.
Wow, look up and you're seeing. Well, you even see outer
Yeah.
bands. The thing
So it goes from Florida to Louisiana to Cuba to the Yucatan.
the thing that I recall.
Wow, that's a big storm.
As we would talk about what are the effects of so-called climate change on hurricanes and things, and even though they show it as being sort of centered in the Gulf, this thing is right now
It's
picking
gigantic.
up moisture
And heat.
and more moisture
And
more moisture
and
Yeah.
speed and energy.
The big issue.
Energy.
The big issue will be, I can remember when Hurricane Sandy first was talked about, and they were all kind of going, oh, well, look, it was only a Category 1 or something, because they were all concerned with the speed of the wind at the eye wall as the measurement, and the only thing was that several scientists had said, well, yeah, but did you notice that the diameter of the
It's
storm
so big.
is so much bigger, and it's carrying more precipitation.
Yep.
And that's the way this one's going to be too. So, wow. All right, I'm going to jump to time gap.
Okay.
Did I jump there already?
I believe you did.
I did.
Geologists dig into Grand Canyon's mysterious gap
Wait
in
a
time.
minute. What?
So what's a gap in time? It
Well-
says this is from the University of Colorado at Boulder.
Well,
those
yeah.
those are pretty sharp people.
They
I have done a couple workshops at Boulder and am incredibly impressed.
And here's the question: is who is stealing these? It says here.
It says at certain sites in the Grand Canyon, more than 1 billion years worth of rocks have gone missing from the geologic record. Scientists are trying to figure out why.
So now, I was thinking to myself, well, here's the great unconformity,
Oh, that's an interesting phrase.
which has perplexed geologists since it was described nearly 150 years ago.
Okay, so this isn't a recent
No.
oops. This is a
Hopefully
something
there's
gone on
some,
for
yeah.
quite some time. It says so think of the red bluffs and cliffs of the Grand Canyon as Earth's history textbook.
Yeah.
So
Just go right down through
you
those
can
layers.
jump back almost 2 billion years into the planet's past, but the textbook is also missing pages. In some
What?
areas, more than 1 billion years worth of rocks have disappeared from the Grand Canyon without a trace, and geologists want to know
Everybody
why.
wants to know why.
So has something just been eroded away?
Well, this is what's
What-
interesting. They believe, it says now. Who's the dog? Anyway, she and her colleagues think they may be narrowing in on an answer in a paper published this month in the Journal of Geology.
Okay, good. I can't wait to read it.
It says that a series of small yet violent faulting events, when they're talking about,
Okay.
they're not talking about, hey, it's your fault, it's not my fault, who forgot to do what. Here's what this is something that I thought was so cool. An ancient supercontinent called Rodinia.
Okay.
And they think that this resulting havoc likely tore up the earth around the canyon, causing the rocks and sediments to wash away and into the ocean. This is really cool. With new analytical methods, allow us to decipher the history of the missing window of time across the great unconformity.
That's a
I
great
love
term.
that term.
I really like that
Unconformity.
term.
Are you a conformist? No, I'm an unconformist. Well, aren't you a nonconformist? No,
I'm-
I would be, but I'm
I am
even more
an
unconforming than that.
And a non.
So this is really cool. So rocks have been pushed, layers are even pushed vertical. So we're talking about some stuff that's
Okay.
4 continental splits. Thermochronology has to do with the history of when heat affects a rock. Like you have people that do archaeology know that just a campfire will cause the heat to affect
Sure.
rocks. So what they're doing is they're using this concept of thermochronology, and of course some of this stuff would result from pressure and heat and all that from that stuff. It's Dr. Peake and her colleagues are now looking at other sites in the great unconformity to see how general this picture might be. So, this is gonna be cool.
Yeah,
The whole this idea of another supercontinent of a Rodinia now, and then immediately I want to know, well, who got to name it that and why? But that'll be for another episode.
Alrighty.
Rodinia.
Very cool. This is really neat. So it's not like somebody went in and stole it. What happened is that a geological
Geologic event,
upheaval moved this era of rocks into a different area, they were eroded away.
It's gone.
And so
The other layers probably collapsed
Yeah.
or compressed down around it. But that's really neat.
Very cool.
Now, this whole thing about blue hydrogen, I've seen this coming across because one of the big things, and there are a bunch of different takes on this. What is blue hydrogen, and is it really better than fossil fuel? Now, with the advent, Robert, of hydrogen, like here it says, hydrogen has often been touted as the fuel of the future. I feel like one of those movie guys. Hydrogen has the potential to create limitless, emission-free, efficient energy. Well, that's really cool, right?
yeah, if it were only true.
It says, but when such statements are made, the hydrogen that most people are thinking about is one specific type, green hydrogen. Now, first of all, let me let you know that the color, there is no such thing as the colorless gas.
There is no blue or green or red.
Well, but the part that I think is interesting is that green hydrogen was always indicated as if you were, for example, to take solar energy and create, in other words, renewable things.
Right. Yes.
But people got really smart about this. The policymakers, gas companies, and the others, they like hydrogen too, but they refer to what they call blue hydrogen,
which has been hailed as the fuel for the era.
Yeah.
And help in the fight to reach net zero emissions. However, blue is not green, and the difference between them can make a world of difference. So if green is made from
there's also brown hydrogen.
and
there's black hydrogen,
and I would imagine black. So if you were to burn coal to make this, that would be black.
They say burning of coal oil to produce brown hydrogen using bituminous tar, that would be to produce black hydrogen.
Yeah.
And then, whether methane or the idea that they did this to add all these different
color
colors.
code is just fascinating.
Okay, now here's the whole point of the blue hydrogen thing.
Okay.
Because it took me a while. I'm looking at
blue hydrogen is extracted using the same method as gray hydrogen.
And here's the difference.
With the added step of capturing and storing the carbon dioxide released into the ground.
They're going to capture it
held
underground.
as being a cheap yet clean alternative to green hydrogen, which is still extremely expensive to extract. So the blue hydrogen is the hydrogen that comes out of wells?
No, blue hydrogen is when it's going to go through these different, all these processes. So like up here it talks about, they talk about how getting, even though we had some cool stuff talking about how hydrogen is becoming easier to extract. Like electrolysis and all these different things. What they're talking about is taking all kinds of other hydrocarbons and running them through processes.
Okay.
Which then makes hydrogen, even though it makes tons of carbon dioxide too.
Oh yeah, it makes tons of carbon dioxide.
So the point is, it has all to do with the storage.
Yeah.
So technically, if you could be storing the carbon dioxide, they're now saying that the petroleum industry has a solution to all your problems. Right?
So if you take all of the carbon dioxide that is produced when making hydrogen
from petroleum,
and store the carbon dioxide somewhere, then you can call it blue hydrogen. Well, that's just
blue
stupid.
Skies.
I'm sorry. I mean, to say, it's blue, or it's orange, or
here's where I'm going
brown, or black.
I'm just going to argue with you like you can't believe. Here would be my argument. Well, Robert, if in fact it were just that easy to just store the carbon dioxide, then I would say,
why aren't we doing it?
Then why aren't we doing it?
Are you going to convert it into, I don't know, diamonds?
Yes.
If you could convert it into, folks, I say let's call it blue diamond hydrogen. If you could take the carbon dioxide that you're storing and turn it into blue diamonds,
and breathe the oxygen.
I would be thrilled. I would come to wherever you are, and I would bow in your general direction if you could possibly do that.
Scared me there for a second.
Until that happens, stop using these stupid terms.
Blue hydrogen.
It's not blue, it's not red, it's not black, it's not brown, it's not yellow, it's not orange.
Gray. You forgot gray.
Hydrogen.
Yeah.
And I don't care. If you think you can possibly capture the carbon dioxide and do something with it other than store it,
then just do that without
then just
this conversion.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come
'Cause,
on.
I mean, if that were really the case, then we would say, well, go ahead and
Then go ahead.
burn the natural gas and
Fabulous.
store the carbon dioxide.
But you know what? I don't think you can.
Well, I don't think they're doing it. Now, of course, Robert, you were saying, oh, hydrogen is just hydrogen. Yeah, okay. Well, listen, I have gone back to this is kind of an old story. In fact, this is from the International Journal of Hydrogen Energy, the very guys who probably made up the term blue hydrogen, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. We have talked about this a lot, and I'm going to just touch on this briefly because a lot of people think that this is like over the top. It says in this paper.
It is, but wouldn't it be cool if it were true?
Well, the thing is, I'm just going to say that I think there's a lot of evidence that it is true.
So this is International Journal of Hydrogen Energy, February 2003.
A long time ago.
Okay,
and we
long
talked,
time ago.
And we talked about
Yes,
this.
yes, we
and
have.
We've been talking about
Says the novel molecular, that's
species.
MAGNECULAR, not any other word, magnecular species of hydrogen and oxygen with increased specific weight and energy content.
Yeah. Now, see, the thing is, this is a lot to read through, and basically, I want to just give you. This is the absolute
Yes.
briefest thing, because we'll talk about some other
Go
things.
for it.
And again, I'm going to say that there has been testing of this, and I'm going to just say,
I know these tests have been going on for a long time. The Navy's done them. The Army's done them.
Well,
everyone has
Exxon's probably
been standing in line doing this, and everyone to a person goes, "What's going on here?"
Okay, so I'm going to read.
the abstract.
Well, just there's a sentence I'm going to save
Okay.
here, but part of what I want you to know is what these folks feel is that, for example, if you're producing hydrocarbons, and especially if you had a process where you were, hydrogen was in the middle of like a really intense magnetic field, like a carbon
right.
arc. So the magnetic field is so intense that it imparts. Well, let's not worry about the process, but let's say that instead of the kind of bonding you usually think about with
H2, yeah.
Yeah, so you have H2, and we're talking about bonds that everybody agrees on.
Yes.
But if you have these molecules of H2, and it turns out that because you've changed the spin, you've done something with the huge magnetic, the very extreme
Right.
torrent of magnetism.
Something happens.
And if you would picture that each little molecule, of your little H2 that you might think is floating around in the atmosphere, actually has enough of a magnetic bond so that they can stack up just like those little disk magnets that you can get
Right.
at the Smart Center.
Right.
Now, that's kind of the assumption that these things exist as actual like pseudo molecules, and they're bound together, but they're not bound together so hard that they can't act as just normal hydrogen.
Right.
Now, here's the reason why this is all important. Here, I'm going to read a couple of these things. Increase in fuel cell voltage, if you could have, because they have magnecular oxygen, magnecular hydrogen.
Hydrogen, right.
A decrease of storage volumes. Anybody
Right.
that knows the old gas
Well,
laws knows that.
It says here, we also study a particular form of a magna H with a specific
There it
weight
is.
of
That's the one
about
I want to read to
7
you.
times that of the hydrogen, which is particularly suited for use as fuel in internal combustion engines, and show that such a new species implies, one, the elimination of liquefaction of conventional hydrogen as currently used by
Now they mentioned car manufacturers.
BMW and GM and other car manufacturers. Two, performance essentially equivalent to that of the same engine when operating on gasoline. And three, the achievement of cost competitiveness of Magna H with respect to fossil fuels.
There you go. So anyway,
Okay, was that what you were
Yeah.
going to read?
Well,
I
I
mean,
was-
it just jumped out at me. It's like,
Well, yeah.
whoa, look at this.
so and we've talked about this before.
Specific weight 7 times of H2.
Right.
That's H14.
Well, but the thing that
That's just so cool.
but you always have to remember that you also could, in a container of gas, even if you just
You'd
compress
have
it,
7 times
the energy content,
the
density.
the density
right.
at the same pressure.
Now the only thing
I mean, that's just so cool.
and because this is 2003, and he was very much focusing on just the idea that you could use this for transportation fuel. I just watched when was it the what Shepard, the
Yeah.
Bezos thing took off, I thought
And you're going, why aren't
they
you
have liquid
using this,
hydrogen,
people?
liquid oxygen. Well,
would
they're
be-
not. They're either not. Part of it is this has not maybe been done at a scale
Yeah,
before it was.
everything can be scaled up.
Well, they say that. That's part of what they say.
And Musk, I know that you're listening to us because you can't come up with your own ideas. So look, why don't you try this?
Well, he's
Okay,
yeah.
come on.
Anyway, so I just thought this would be. Now, here's the part that even though we don't have this listed, when I went looking to see what Ruggero, 85-year-old Ruggero Santilli, who is, I found a thing where there was a whole big video of him. He's not talking about this great idea, right? He was talking about something that you and I talked about when he first proposed it, which was the antimatter telescope. Now people go,
Yeah.
this is crazy. What are we listening to? Buck Rogers in the 25th, you know. but here's the thing: if we were to scroll back somewhere, not within the past month or so, we did a whole radio science news story about somebody who was predicting and had found evidence for antimatter galaxies.
Right. Yes.
Now I don't know where that story was, but the reason why I'm just going to bring this up briefly because if you and I get off on this tangent, people will go, "Well, that's it. I'm out of here." The point that Ruggero Santilli was saying, he believes that, and this is very short. I apologize if you're familiar with a typical magnifying glass, you know, that you look through and you know that light comes through and it bends because
Right.
it goes through material and converges. Ruggero Santilli's point of departure for his theory was that I don't even know if we're going to be able to find it. Did you find it?
Yes, May 8th, 2021, antimatter.
Okay, that may be it.
Yeah.
While you pop that up,
Here,
let me
here,
just
here, look.
while you're popping that up, because I was going to refer to
Stars made of antimatter could exist in the Milky Way.
that. Okay, so
all right.
here's the reason why this jumped out at me. We did this story, and this is a well-supported
Yep.
little piece of science
Yep.
here. And maybe I'll pop that up next week, and I'll
Okay.
find the little thing with him. The reason why this is really interesting is that Santilli says that if you have antimatter, you have antiphotons, you have the whole
Yeah.
point is that they would not function the same way they do with our standard telescopes.
Oh, well, supposedly, yeah.
He actually created telescopes and things that use optics. And the point being that when the light comes through a particular shape that we would expect to converge or diverge, it does the opposite.
Oh, wouldn't that be slick?
So he claims and he shows evidence for the fact that they're observing things with the telescope that he proposed and designed that then has a focal point for the anti-light.
Okay.
Okay, so you're thinking of antiphoton.
Fascinating. So there's matter light and antimatter light.
Exactly. That's his whole point.
There's not just light.
And so
Right.
and so his whole, and then some people say, well, this is simplistic and idiotic, but they have done things where they have, like night vision stuff that they put on his telescopes, and they appear to show objects when looking at, parts of the sky and stuff. And
that's just cool.
Well, and he's basically just proposing that there are these things
Right.
out there in space. And so then here, years later, we have this story.
Yeah,
who
he's
actually
saying, it
proposes
says
this?
this is from the antimatter thing back in May. It says out of an estimated 100 billion stars in our galaxy, no more than 14 may be made of antimatter. That's the result from a new study that scoured the Milky Way looking for signs of antistars.
So
Okay.
think about that. If Ruggero Santilli has actually
And
done this and has
this is a
viewed
really
them-
short little. No, I'm so sorry. I thought it was a short article.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah, it talks about this. Anti-stars. Okay.
Well, what I'm finding rather interesting is something that you and I looked at. When he first came out with
Yeah.
this thing about the telescope, we talked about it and we went, well, okay, this would be something I would have to have a little more proof on, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But one of the things that it all hinges on are, first of all, are there celestial objects, like including maybe stars or galaxies or something that are antimatter, which is a huge. I mean,
That would
that's a
be
huge
cool.
leap of judgment here. But we have, scientists who are actually now claiming that they even can, So anyway, when we were talking about the idea of his magnetic hydrogen and
Right.
magnetic oxygen, and again, this is not something really wild and crazy because, in fact, Robert, we were just talking about MRIs.
Yes.
And I can remember another confession from my days of the in the back corners of the chemistry labs in biology at WVU. But I remember that back at the time when magnetic resonance imaging was so like new, that I remember one of the guys telling me that in the chemistry department that. Oh yeah, he said, this is really cool. What happens is you're using these intense magnetic fields to cause an effect on especially organic molecules. And then when you turn it off, then the subsequent release of, it was very complex. But the point was that there was interaction with, there was interaction with all these organic molecules that allowed you to identify things.
Yeah.
Now, I said, yeah, like what's the practical purpose? And he said, well, when we get all the denatured alcohol that we use in the chemistry lab, and I said, yeah. He said, well, do you know why they denature? And I said, well, I'm not sure exactly. He says, well, denatured means they put benzene in it.
Oh,
and everybody knows that. Oh, for God's sake, it's pure alcohol except for the benzene.
So don't drink it?
So you don't want to drink it. He said, well, the fact of the matter is they actually only put benzene in like 1/10 of it. Like it's a random thing and you would never know. Unless you could take a gallon of the alcohol and put it, and you take samples and you'd find out that actually only 1 in 10 of the bottles of denatured alcohol have benzene. The rest of them are pure ethanol.
I didn't know that.
Well, nobody knew that except this apparently overhung the guy who was having a terrible headache from the party that they had
from trying to find the benzene.
They determined that there were, a lot of the denatured alcohol things were actually pure, not denatured at all. They just had a scary label. But the point being, Robert, the MRI, it showed that there are these interactions, and that's the reason why when somebody proposes that hydrogen could take on magnetic properties, even if it's just the fact that it causes a bonding, not a strong bonding, but a light or weak bonding,
some kind of bonding
that's based on kind of a magnetic attraction between these molecules, then I have to say this is not a crazy idea.
No, it's not a crazy idea, especially when it has been shown and utilized over and over and over again.
And then you have to say, well, then where is it again?
Yeah.
Anyway, so much to think about. Hey, let's jump on to let's talk about your whale, Robert.
Let's do that.
You saw a great little episode that was talking about the fact that they've traced with all kinds of wonderful fossil evidence the fact that whales, as we see them in the ocean, are very closely related to land predators.
Yes.
And in fact, I remember seeing that same thing too. It had to do with the fact that they were related to wolves. Okay, so
Egyptians discover fossil of new amphibious whale.
Amphibious whale.
Egyptian scientists have discovered the fossils of a new species of amphibious whale that dates back 43 million years, a member of the research said. Cool.
Yeah, they give it a great name. It's Anubis is the name of it, of course.
Ooh, I like that. That sounds very
Thiomycetus. Look at that.
Egyptian-y god
Anubis
sounding. Okay. Fossil was found in the Fayman region, a part of Egypt that was once covered by sea and is home to Whale Valley, UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh, cool.
Wait. So there's a place in Egypt called Whale Valley?
And I'm assuming it's because of all the discoveries
of fossils? Yeah, I would imagine
fossils.
Because of the discovery of the whales, yep. The newly discovered species, which was more than 3 meters or 10 feet long and weighed about 600 kilograms, by the way, that's mass, not weight, about 1,320 pounds, has been named...
Now that's the region, Phio, and then Mycetus would be for whale, and then Anubis.
Okay, very cool.
Oh, anyway, the thing is, the whale had the ability to walk on land and swim in the sea, and they said it was the most ferocious and ancient species in Africa. So that's really...
It was a large predator with large, powerful jaws that allowed it to control the environment it lived in.
Hey, you, get over there.
Yeah, yikes.
Hey, you, get your vaccine, whatever.
Get your vaccine.
This is really cool, and it's intermediate, newly described fossil whale. Yeah, there's some more cool things down there. So that is pretty cool. Now, this thing about when I thought egg math, I thought, well, when people would say, if you were really a mathematician, they'd call you an egghead or something like that, right? Well, little did I know that the mysterious shape of the egg, researchers finally, Robert, after all this time, literally just yesterday, they finally revealed an ancient universal equation for the shape of an egg.
Somehow I thought This was old news because I have been telling my students, and I've been teaching since 1980, that the shape of an egg is specifically an arch shape so that it can redistribute the weight and the various forces in the nest and of the bird on it.
Well, what sounds like what they've done is they put together what says here, analysis of egg shapes. It uses it has a sphere, an ellipsoid, an ovoid, and a pyriform, or the conical. The sharpest part of it will be more of a conical, with a mathematical formula. Oh, for the pyriform yet to be derived. So
so all of the math is not in yet.
Well, except it looks like they've gone to a different. It says the new universal mathematical formula is based on egg length. This is on 4 parameters rather than the complex, geometric shapes. Egg length, maximum breadth, shift of the vertical axis, and the diameter at 1/4 of the egg length. So it looks like what they've found is an interesting shortcut that will allow them to use linear, like linear measurements. These are all the term like the shift of the vertical axis. So we have 3 linear things and then an angular thing. So this is cool.
It says this new formula is an important breakthrough with multiple applications. I love it when things have applications. Number 1, competent scientific description of a biological object. Now that an egg can be described via mathematical formula, work in fields of biological systemics, optimization of technical parameters, egg incubation, and selection of poultry will be greatly simplified.
Well, that certainly
simplifies that. Accurate and simple determination of the physical characteristics of a biological object.
Well, like they talk about surface area.
And then future biology-inspired engineering. The egg is a natural biological system studied to design engineering systems and state-of-the-art technologies. The egg-shaped geometric figure is adopted in architecture such as the London City Hall's roof and the Gherkin.
What's a great pickle, the Gherkin?
Yeah, it certainly is. I love it. The construction as it can withstand maximum loads with a minimum consumption of materials to which the formula can now be easily applied. Well, we have known that all along, but the math has been finally done. Almost done, it looks like. Very cool.
It sounds like they've agreed that with this, like I say, three linear measurements and an angular one, and 4 factors that will allow them to. When I tell my chickens at home this, they will be so excited.
They will be
Robert.
excited.
They will be ecstatic. Well, I can tell you though, when you talk to a chicken about the shape of an egg, they know about it.
They get real excited.
Well, and I've noticed that sometimes eggs are nice. Sometimes they're long and I'm thinking maybe designed for comfort. I'm not sure. I'm not just talking about that they sit on the eggs.
I understand.
All right, that was cool. Now let's look at this big coral.
Big coral.
Big coral. At the OK Corral. This is an incredibly resilient coral in the Great Barrier Reefs. Offers hope for the future. Now check out this image.
Okay, that
10.4 meter, and it's called the Muga Dambi. Oh, attention.
The widest known coral in the Great Barrier Reef.
This is a cool story.
10.4 meter wide.
That's really something. And of course, as we all know, that the Mandara people, in their language, Muga Dahambi is big coral. So that's really cool. And in fact, it says it's the 6th tallest coral. Oh no, there's one that's a little over 5 meters, making it the 6th. So these are. It says we don't see many of that size. Well, scientist Nathan Cook of the Reef Ecologic says that. The thing that was kind of cool about it, though, is that it says that knowing that these things like the big coral, the Muga Dambi, exist and have persisted for a long time, it gives us some hope, because the point of this story is that they have evidence that this thing has withstood. Somewhere in the story talks about how many. Oh, here it is. They calculate that this coral is somewhere between 421 to 438 years old.
Right.
And it's this is the part that they were saying that gives it its term as being resilient. It's survived as many as 80 cyclones, and then we're talking about the
And
hurricanes.
99 coral bleaching events.
Wow.
Wow, this is a resilient coral.
So the idea that some of these things may be tougher, but again, there aren't that many of these big guys. But life can be very resilient.
Wow.
So I'm going to take this as good news.
That's great news. I really like that.
The reef's widest coral. We're talking about 400 plus years, but that's not real long. Anyway.
So what's this about Pluto?
All right, let's jump into this, because when I saw this, I said, when I hit this story, it could just stop everything. The definition of Pluto is still a sore point, especially among Pluto fans. Whoa.
What?
Wait a minute.
Some astronomers disagree with the distant orb's 2006 reclassification. For 76 years, Pluto was the beloved ninth
love
planet.
that little
No one cared that it was the runt of the solar system. Hey, with a moon Charon half its size, no one minded that it had a tilted eccentric orbit, was a weirdo, but it was our weirdo.
I rest my
Wow,
case
you
right
guys are really kind of mean.
Wow.
Children identify with its smallness, wrote science writer
Listen to this next sentence.
Eva Sobol in her 2005 book, The Planets.
This is the part I love. Adults relate
to its inadequacy. Hey,
Its marginal
existence as a misfit.
Wait a minute. All right.
Folks, it's a world. It's not some snotty-nosed brat.
Yeah.
What,
wait a minute. Speaking of
what is going on
snotty-nosed
here?
brats, I'll read the next
Oh, okay,
sentence.
please do.
When Pluto was excluded from the planetary display in 2000 at the American Museum of Natural History, children sent hate mail to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
For
There
good
you go.
good reason too.
There you go.
See, let me just give you a little background. He took it down knowing that people would become upset. He took it down because he knew that
likes
there would be
attention.
school groups
His name
coming in, and people would get upset. When people get upset, they call the news. When the news calls, who do they call? They call the person in charge of the planetarium. And who is in charge of the planetarium? Neil was in charge of the
All right,
planetarium.
let's forget all
this
these
was a
guys.
staged event.
Right. Well, they talk about that.
Yes.
Good. I know that you don't want to talk about this guy, the person who was from the planet, because she thought it was a good idea. But look down here. Here's where it gets good. For a long time, she believed that the IAU was but it says, in fact, they say one planetary scientist, Jean-Luc Margot, called it a triumph of science over emotion. But
No, it's not.
Jim Bell, now at the Arizona State University, thought the decision was a travesty, and he still does.
I agree.
He still does. The idea that planets have to clear their orbits in particular is irksome. The ability to collect or
Well,
cast...
it's also wrong.
Because then, of course, I'm thinking, Robert, you could probably name one giant gas planet that hasn't cleared.
Yep.
Has Jupiter cleared its orbit yet?
No object in the universe
See, there you go.
has ever or will ever clear its orbit, period.
Yeah, so anyway, Bell, I think, agrees with you.
Good.
So, but not everyone agrees with him. So there you
And that's okay. See, it's okay not to agree, but it's not okay to be wrong because you can't see the truth.
go. Or because you just
Or
arbitrarily
because you don't
skip
want
something.
to see the truth. Or because you already have a truth in mind that you want, and no matter what you do, you're going to stick with it. That's called politics, people. It's called politics.
Yeah.
Science is not supposed to be
Oh,
political.
and then one of the guys, he's sort of telling his tale. He says, he goes, the truth is there's no single definition of a planet, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, you know what? The Blueprint team with the Smart Center and the Near Earth Object Foundation has come up with a definition of planet. The definition is a minimum diameter of any non-stellar object 10 million times the length of the a hydrogen line.
Okay.
A 21.1.
Now, is that blue hydrogen or regular hydrogen?
Nanometer line. This is
Yeah.
regular a hydrogen. So
even space aliens can
exactly.
replicate this.
And the reason is that 21.1 centimeters is a universal idea.
Yeah, it can
And
be replicated
so
and
it
used.
wouldn't just be definition for planet for Earthlings, it would be the universal definition for planet everywhere. Very simple. Doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter what it's orbiting, doesn't matter if it orbits, doesn't matter if it clears its orbit, doesn't matter if it has a satellite, doesn't matter if it is a satellite. As long as it's not a star and it's 10 million of these units in
Yeah.
diameter, in a minimum sense, planet. Very simple.
Very cool. Now, just to close out this thing, I'm going to scroll down. Here's the picture, Robert, of the people in Prague, Czechoslovakia in 2006 voting to do.
Voting.
There they are.
Voting. This is not politics, people. They've and if I don't know if it says here or not, but there are over 10,000 members of the International Astronomical Union.
Yeah.
They did the vote on Sunday after lunch.
Well, have you had your lunch?
Which means that, guys, it's over. Most everyone was already on a plane and left. They purposefully did this at the last day of the conference,
To sneak
the
it through,
travel day, when they knew that there wasn't going to be a big crowd.
I see empty seats there.
There's a lot of empty seats
All right,
there.
so I'm gonna
there
close-
were only about 450 people at this vote, and there were people purposefully stayed behind to make sure that Pluto would be demoted.
No.
Why? Because people wanted to write books.
Oh.
And the only way that their books were going to get published was Pluto was going to be demoted. This was political. This was for financial gain. This was to make people who would never be anybody because they're not great scientists. It turns out that then when you say, "Oh, gee, this big thing just happened and it's upsetting children the world over,"
It is. I'm upset.
who are they going to call? They're going to call the people that made the wreck. It's like saying, "Oh, let's interview the guy who put the fire out after he started it."
Wow.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm going to end this story with some good news for you.
So if you detect a little irksomeness in me, it's because this is not science.
Yeah.
It
Well-
just irritates me no end.
Well, and here's the good part. A lot of people, as we've talked about, like they're talking about it says planetary scientists don't use the IAU's definition.
Nobody would.
Metzger, he says, we pretty much just ignore it. And here's the part.
Well, yeah.
It says, but Metzger and the colleagues think there's a good reason to reject the definition. So that basically, the point is many people reject what they've done.
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll let that rest for a little while. I didn't
Bad
know,
science,
I didn't know
folks.
whether you would want
Bad
to
science.
comment on that or not.
Oh, no, not me.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the Teslabot
Let's do that. Teslabot.
Just briefly.
Get to Teslabot.
protocol. Tesla's building a robot and it's called the Teslabot. Well, of course, but don't worry, you can run away from it probably.
Probably.
And so part of it is they actually had somebody, a dancer dressed up in what it would be, come out. It says Teslas are when he came out talking about the robots, Elon Musk said that Teslas are basically just semi-sentient robots on wheels, Elon Musk said. So why not just ditch the wheels? And he's looking at the idea of a full-fledged humanoid robot called Teslabot.
Why?
And maybe it'll be out next year. Now, here's the whole thing. It's
Why?
intended to be friendly, but he said he wants to use it to do dangerous, repetitive, and boring tasks. Well, all right.
Okay.
All right, that's pretty good. All right, that's enough of the Tesla robot. Let's go to the next story. Let's go. I'm looking at our time, and I want to touch on Starlink.
Okay.
Because,
Starlink.
So Starlink is the well. Anyway, this story here is that SpaceX has a plan for internet satellites, and
Yeah.
they've got a ton of them up there.
Yeah. The real thing that I want to say is that you really don't need internet satellites. You can use tethered balloons,
You can do all kinds of stuff.
and it would be far cheaper, far safer, and you wouldn't pollute the night sky.
It's time for you to start your little song there.
It is indeed.
Anyway, here's the point that I was going to read. Elon Musk is being sued because Bezos or the other people. Amazon has a project called Project Kuiper, and the government is paying for it. And it says that Musk, he wants to launch second generation Starlink 30,000 satellites, Robert.
Oh, what is wrong with this guy?
Adding to its 1,740 that are already up there.
It's not his nighttime sky.
Well,
It's not his. He does not own the nighttime sky.
wow, that's amazing. Anyway,
What a
listen,
jerk.
hey, I just have 10 seconds to let you folks know that, hey, where's my button here? I need my button. We'll be back next week. We'll have more science fun. Radio Science News.